Okay, welcome from my side. My name is Menina Chow. I'm part of the SAP community team, your host during today's session. And I'm very excited to have Thomas Saueressig with us today, our executive board member of the SAP Product Engineering board area. And we'll have a very interactive session. So as I mentioned earlier, but I'm happy to remind you, we have the chat for you to exchange conversations with us, but also the Q&A area where you can submit your questions. Well, we're at the end of the year. I think there's lots to share, a lot of highlights and reflection. So I don't want to talk too much about this, as from community side, we'll definitely have some recap as well later at some later point in time. But Thomas, really cool to have you here. Why don't you kick it off and give the audience some words about today's session.
No, thanks so much, and a warm welcome also from my side again. I really appreciate that you take the time for the engagement and the interactive sessions, because the time with the community is super important for us, because we listen and learn, and this is very important for us to really improve ourselves, our products every single day, to earn your trust. So first of all, thanks so much for taking the time. It's always exciting when I look in the chat already from Germany to Japan. We have a wide variety of people joining the call, which is for sure amazing to see that. So thanks so much for that. And also for sure, we are still in very unprecedented times. We are still in a pandemic, and for sure, depending on the country, you have different waves and situations. But for me, it's also important to continue to focus on health and well-being. And that's also the reason why I hope that everybody of you is safe and healthy with you and your families. I think this is still the most important thing in life. And I think we are always reminded about these values in ongoing days. As you mentioned, I mean, 2021 was a very eventful year, certainly not short of announcement and discussions. But I think if I reflect back on 2021, it was a year where we really executed along our strategy. We adjusted and evolved our product strategy in the end of 2020. And what you've seen beginning of the year 2021, that we continuously really worked on the execution. We for sure continue to double down on the notion of the intelligent enterprise, which means fully end-to-end integrated business processes. And that's the integration story which we talked about, which also means for sure the functional integrations which we delivered, but also for sure opening up our system with our API strategy, which is absolutely critical. And also not to forget our activities with artificial intelligence, because if we talk about an intelligent enterprise, we also need to ensure that we have the intelligence in the processes itself, but not just for the sake of technology, but actually to improve the working environment of the end users, or also to enable new business models. And that's exactly what the intelligent enterprise is about. But with having all the groundwork done and the execution you saw the last quarters, we are also in a way to evolve it to a network of intelligent enterprises. And this is really our aspiration with the business network, to connect all of our 400,000 customers together, to have a true cross-enterprise integration, to truly establish multi-enterprise businesses, and to really have the visibility throughout the entire supply chain, which is so critical, because we see these days more than ever how globally interconnected this world is, but also how less we have the visibility in the supply chain. And we see that with the various shortages and various activities around the globe. So the network of intelligent enterprises is a very important aspect for us. And this is also something where for sure the cloud is helping us, because in the cloud, we can connect our customers more directly. And we for sure can also leverage the data differently to train models, to work on creating new AI cases for our customers. So this is a very important aspect, and we did a lot of progress there with our business network, delivered our new trading partner portal, which is bringing all of our network aspects together. And you will certainly hear more about our network activities. And then a very essential key element for us is that we want to tackle the notion about sustainability. We are in a climate crisis, let's face it, and we have no time to wait. And I think also the COP26 in Glasgow actually just reconfirmed the need that everybody of us, every single individual, but also every organization on earth need to do it. From our end, I can proudly and incredibly say at SAP, we have embedded sustainability in our strategy since decades, since 15 years. we now are the leader in the Dow Jones Sustainability Index for the software category. And we are really proud to have a credible way of tackling sustainability. And I think in order to tackle sustainability, a key aspect is again the supply chain, because we all know that actually, if you think about the environmental aspect of sustainability, that actually the carbon footprint is the factor 11 higher in the supply chain. So in the scope 3 of the greenhouse gas protocol, than actually compared to the direct emissions of the own operations in scope 1, which means if you really want to address the carbon footprint, if you really want to get to net zero, then the only way is to do that together with the supply chain. And that's coming back again to the network, because you need to have this visibility to the tier end supplier. And one of the aspects what you see is that we, with our industry focus, not only deliver innovations for the industries with our industry cloud, but we actually take it further and we create industry networks. And one of these examples is Catena X with our automotive network, which we created, that actually the automotive OEMs are actually capable to calculate the individual carbon footprint of each and every single car, down to the battery, down to the raw material which they get. And this is something they cannot do today. And they require this network and supply chain, which means to tackle sustainability credibly, you need to work on this network on intelligent enterprises. And also, quite frankly, what is very important in Dear when we talk about sustainability, we have a holistic view. For sure, the environmental aspect is a super critical one for us as humanity, but we also need to tackle the societal and governance aspect, like ethical sourcing. For sure, we need to avoid child labor, which means this is in the procurement aspect, but also diversity and inclusion in HR is super important. And here you see how our portfolio from ERP, digital supply chain, customer experience, procurement, the spend management, but also HR, all of that needs to come together to truly have an impact. And what we just released yesterday, I'm very proud about that, was the general availability of our SAP Sustainability Control Tower, which brings together all of these aspects, including for sure third-party data, which we need to acquire to really have a holistic view on that, which we deliver to our customers. Yesterday, officially, for sure, we were working on that the entire year together with amazing co-innovations customers, which I'm super grateful and want to give a big shout out to all of our co-innovation customers who help us bring those amazing products to the market. And I think this is an amazing opportunity which we have. And I think it's a very important aspect for us. Interestingly, with the Sustainability Control Tower, this is a perfect example of our technology strategy, because we fully bet on the SAP Business Technology Platform for all the integrations, all the extensibility, and all the new applications which we build. And the Sustainability Control Tower is, for instance, combining our data warehouse cloud, the SAP Analytics Cloud, and the Business Technology Platform for the development aspects around it to deliver this product in a modular fashion that you have a quick time to value. You can embrace this component in your architecture, in your specific customer architecture, which you have, and connect it with your systems. Because this modular approach about applications, and some analysts call it composable enterprise, is actually extremely relevant. And I have to say, I have a lot of empathy about it. As a former CIO, I'm certainly aware about complex enterprise architectures and landscapes. So it's super important for us to deliver you this value, that you have an amazing quick time to value and implementation for our products, because we want to ensure that you can consume our innovations. That's also the reason why, with the Rise with SAP initiative, which we launched beginning of the year, we really want to help with the business transformation of our customers to not only lift and shift workloads to the cloud, but actually help our customers to get more to the standard and to change the business processes accordingly. And that's also the reason why we acquired beginning of the year Signavio to help analyze processes, document the processes, to really have a continuous way to do business process transformation and management. And I think that is a very important aspect. And another aspect where I'm super excited about, and you see how the things are coming together this year, is on the user experience front. On TechEd this year, actually you saw the preview of our new Fiori next of our Horizon theme, where in S4HANA Cloud 2111, you basically can now press the preview button on the screen, and it turns around to the new user experience, which we will deliver to all of our applications. By end of next year, we will have a consistent new user experience. which we deliver to our customers. And I think that's a very important aspect as well. And for sure, if we talk about user experience, we also need to talk about native mobile capabilities. And here we delivered the SAP Mobile Start application in August, which is basically bringing the intelligent enterprise on your fingertips, where you really get all of the approval workflows in the task center on the mobile app. That doesn't matter if it's a procurement or an ERP workflow, you can basically approve the respective things on a native device connecting all of our processes. And you certainly will see more and hear more about our activities in mobile. We also launched a product with augmented reality in the production and engineering operations space to help actually to drive those production processes as well. So you see how we take also here a holistic approach on experience, which is also, for instance, including our activities with our partner Microsoft to embed Microsoft Teams to ensure that in all of the business processes, you can also collaborate in an optimal fashion with your colleagues, with your partners, with your customers. And it's phenomenal how actually with the first releases of the integration, for instance, with our Cloud for Customer and Microsoft Teams and also SuccessFactors and Microsoft Teams, how this is already used by our customers, how much downloads we see actually of the integration of these. So it's really a phenomenal aspect. And then what is also critical for us, we want to learn from you. We want to get your feedback. I mean, this is absolutely vital for us as a company. And I have to say, I want that our product engineering teams get way more closer to the real end user. And that's the reason why we embrace Qualtrics as a product experience function in the product. So if you go to SuccessFactors or Concur or S4HANA Cloud, you can press the button on the top on the shell, and then you get a feedback about this specific capability and function you are using, and if you're satisfied or not satisfied, to get your feedback, the end user feedback. And this feedback is channeled directly to our product management teams who need to take care to learn a lot about the real end user usage and sentiment, which is amazing. So also here, actually, thank you so much for your feedback. We get thousands of feedback based on this, and it really helps us and will certainly have an impact on our further product developments. So also here, big thank you for all your engagement and your feedback. And your feedback is a gift and a treasure for us, because we learn so much about it, because we want to make it work for you. And that's the reason why this feedback is so critical for us. And so please be ensured we take that super serious and we listen very carefully what we learn. So now I already, in a very, very short manner, touched so many things what we did this year, but you see how the things are coming together. Our product and technology strategy really is a united ambition to help our customers and how this is evolving. So I have to say, while I'm very well aware that we have still a long way to go, and I can assure you we will double down on these things and continue, but I hope that you have seen this year a delivery on our promises and that we really executed along our strategy. And before I want to open it up for Q&A, I also want to look a little bit ahead, what's coming next in 2022, what you can expect from SAP. And here, for sure, from a big picture perspective, sustainability will be and will remain a key dominant thing what we will work on next year. We will embed sustainability in all of our offerings. This will be a very pervasive activity for us. We will embed in all of our product capabilities accordingly, which are just part of the product. Because for me, if I think about the next generation of business software, I mean, one thing is clear, it needs to have purpose, and sustainability should be the leading dimension here. And that's also the reason when I actually took over the role in 2019 to head the ERP development of SAP, I was thinking long about what is the next generation ERP. And ERP stands for Enterprise Resource Planning. But actually, starting 2019, we already thought about we need to lift up this E, because it should be environmental resource planning, or it should be ecosystem resource planning. So the notions around sustainability and the network. And that's also something where you will see next year that all of our applications will become network aware in their processes, that we really connect them to the network of intelligent enterprises. So sustainability and the network will be two very dominant continuous themes which we will drive in this direction. For sure, that is a key aspect. And then we have actually 5 key cross-product priorities for all of the applications. And here, user experience is number one. You will see a big push with Fiori next, user experience, consistent user experience next year, more mobile capabilities. So UX is one of the key priorities. Second key priority is actually AI. And now we also have the opportunity that we really, with the data we have in our hands, with the contracts which we signed last year, to use for sure in an anonymized and pseudonymized way, the data to really train our models at scale. So you will see more push on artificial intelligence and embedded AI cases in all of the applications next year. The third aspect will remain integration. And here for sure we talk about functional integration, but also here I consider topics like our API strategy are included to really open up all of our applications and capabilities which we have. The fourth topic, and perhaps that's a surprising one, is actually localization. We truly believe we need to help our customers to win globally and to grow global. And that's the reason why we also double down on localization for all of our products around the globe. And I think that is an important aspect. And the fifth topic, and last but not least, is operational excellence, because system availability, highest SLAs, data protection, privacy, security are on top of mind. And we know and we are aware that we run the most business critical processes in the cloud, that we have, with that also have the most business critical data in our hands. So you can be ensured operational excellence will be a key priority and continue to be a priority for SAP next year. So these are the 5 cross priorities: UX, AI, integration, localization, and operational excellence, which we will drive across all of the products. And then for sure, we have by solution area, a lot of innovation roadmaps, which you also can see online, our roadmap explorer. But I think these 5 leading priorities will guide the way also for next year. So a lot to come, a lot of work on the plate. But I think when looking at the progress this year, I'm very confident to look into the future, what 2022 will bring. The current customer NPS development certainly proved that we achieved a customer client satisfaction of 10, which is, if you compare it to 2019, where we had -6, you really see the increase in the customer satisfaction. So we're really pleased and positive to see that development actually. And this, I think, is something where we continue for sure to have an effort. And last but not least, I also want to give a big shout out actually to all the employees and teams at SAP, and also all of our partners and customers, because I think after 2 years now with this pandemic, it's very hard. This virtual way of working is hard. I mean, let's be honest, this is really, it's for everybody an additional stress level, which we see. And I think that all the teams did a phenomenal job to keep it up, to keep our deliveries, to keep up our support, to keep up the operations, to really have a dedication and commitment. And I want to really give a big shout out to everybody to make that possible, because I know that everybody goes above and beyond to make that happen in an even more stressful way of living and working based on the circumstances we are in certain countries. And I think that's something where I have to say, when I now in this upcoming holiday season reflect, I can tell you this will be most probably one of the biggest topic I will reflect on, because I think this is really a tremendous thing. So having said now that, I gave you a quick rundown on 2021, on a little bit outlook on 2022. And now I'm really looking forward to get your questions, your feedback to that. So thank you very much for listening.
Thank you so much, Thomas. I made so many notes of really the topics that you covered. It's really great to hear how everything is coming together, and really excited to see what's coming in 2022. We already have some questions, so I'd say let's jump right into those from Akinori. So is SAP already helping the network of businesses to gain insights which are only possible through collecting proprietary data from each opt-in enterprises which choose to share the data? So I think it's really going in the direction, how can SAP support in that sense?
That is a great question. So thank you for that, because that is very important for me to clarify that, because we want to have an open network, which is very important. So interoperability is essential for us, which also means we need to follow global standards. And that's exactly what we do, for instance, with Catena X, which is by nature an interoperable network. And it's also a network of networks, which means we really bring the various networks which are actually existing also together. So we have existing networks for dedicated carriers, for dedicated industries. Like in the automotive sector, there's a network for supply on. For sure, we need to tap into that. We don't need to replicate. We should not replicate onboarding processes, but this is coming together. And this is something what is very important for us to have this interoperability and the aspiration to really help to connect also the networks as a network of network, because we don't want to replace networks or compete with networks, by no means. Actually, we want to increase and leverage networks to get better visibility across the various networks which are existing. And I think Catena-X is a phenomenal example of this, to have this interoperability. But again, critical for that is also to work on the standards, because in the end of the day, to make that work, we need to also have standards in place. But this is what we do together with various official alliances and means to do that in this aspect. But it's a great question, and absolutely, I believe as a company, for us, it's so essential to be open. This is a very important aspect and the core belief of us, and it's also reflected in other aspects. But great question, and absolutely, it's not just about proprietary data and opt-ins with SAP. We need to connect all of the various data sources and value streams we need to connect.
Thanks, Thomas. And we actually have a question that's building a little bit on this question as well. So related to it, from a attendee from the pharma industry. And that is the question around, is SAP working with different industry sectors of management, like consortia or anything where we're working with them to share?
Yeah, that's also a good point. And what we actually do, what I mentioned, we currently work with many industry consortia about these industry networks. Now, basically, the Catena-X is a kind of the front runner in the automotive industry and leading a little bit the way how this should be done in this very open and interoperable way, with the really inclusion of all the players in the various industries. And absolutely, we have conversations in the chemical industry, we have conversations in healthcare industry, we have community discussions in the life science and pharma industry. So there are various industries which are, very interested in those concepts where we really work on to make that happen. Also here, it's important. It's not an SAP industry network. It's a network of the industry, and we are a participant about that, an equal participant. But we're not the dominant push. I think that's very important to also understand. And that means we need to form the respective players in these industries and the suppliers and also other software providers, hardware providers, and the likes, to really connect it together in this consortia, in this open environment. And that's where we absolutely are in conversations. But for sure, it's very important to do that in a very diligent way, open way. And that's where we also absolutely, there are more discussions. That's the reason why I mentioned with our industry strategy, we deliver industry innovations on the vertical edge with our industry cloud, where we invite partners to really contribute with amazing industry cases, leveraging our business technology platform connected to our applications, which is a core foundation of SAP, but that we now really evolve, like similarly to the intelligent enterprise, what I mentioned, to this network aspect. And here we go to industry networks as an evolution from the industry cloud activities. And so you see really how this is coming together and spanning now across companies. So not only looking into the four walls of the enterprise, but really looking across. And I think if you think about the current situation in the market, this is more important than ever. And the good piece is, I believe every company has realized it's always better to come together. It's about an ecosystem, about joint success. And I think it's just important that the entire data sharing is a very well organized, secured, governed means, an open means to do it in an appropriate fashion. But then the value generation is way higher and way more interesting in this regards. And this is something where I think we all learn that we need to stick together as a society and the humanity, actually. So I'm very pleased to see these developments, quite frankly. For sure, takes sometimes time to evolve, but overall, I'm very, very positive about these developments.
Great, thank you, Thomas. Another question that goes in the direction of career starters, people who are considering joining SAP. So we have a attendee that's very convinced and working with competitor or like educating people that are considering to work in maybe Silicon Valley competitors, and now trying to convince them on, okay, how is it better to join SAP? Like, what is the greater good? And maybe sustainability is like one of the aspects, but maybe you can touch a little bit more on this topic.
I think that's for sure a very important aspect, because for sure also we have the highest interest that many more people join our community to work, together with SAP in the community, or even join SAP. For sure, we have a high interest in that. So it's a great question. And here, I mean, if I just think about myself for a second, I'm now 17 years with this company, and for sure, also for myself, I always think about, why do I work for SAP or around SAP? And if you think about a partner situation, in the end of the day, if you want to have an impact in the world, and I believe everybody of us want to do an impact, and then I have to say SAP is center stage, because first of all, we truly have a North Star with a purpose which is deeply grounded in our values. So it's an honest and sincere value that we really want to help the world run better and improve people's lives. And sustainability is one of these aspects where we credibly work, actually since decades. It's not just the last couple of months where you see a hype with sustainability. I actually got challenged last year, 2020, in Sapphire, where we big time started with Climate 21, with our sustainability, where we had a big push on that, building on top of our decades experience with environment, health and safety, because we did already for Scope 1 all the emission tracking and everything. So we build on this success and double down on that. And then a lot of analysts came to me and said, "Oh, Thomas, why on earth do you now talk about sustainability? We are in a pandemic. You need to talk about work from home. You need to talk about supply chain." I said, well, I mean, this is all good, but this pandemic will be over in some moment of time. We will sort that out. But I tell you, this climate crisis, this is a problem we need to solve. This is a complex problem to solve. And this is not just providing a dashboard on top of data. Sorry to say, but we have a lot of competitors who now do dashboards. They call it sustainability clouds. I'm always excited how you can brand something like that. It's greenwashing. It's not sincere, because you need to change the process. You need to change production. You need to be very active and deep. And that is complex. And now coming back to SAP. SAP is tackling the complex problem of this world. We're not just laying a UI layer or a dashboard on top of problems and then believe it looks nice. I mean, we actually tackle these deep in our products. So we tackle the big topics of our times. And then you have the impact. We have 400,000 customers, more than 250 million users, which we touch every single day. And this is an impact you can do with SAP. And then for sure, we also leverage the greatest technology. So because I talked about AI, I talked about our platform, about the aspects. So you have a wide variety of amazing topics to work on, but also the impact you can generate. And that's the reason why when I think about SAP, this is a company with a purpose deeply rooted in the values we have, solving the world's biggest problems, actually, which we need to do. And I think that's the reason why I always would recommend everybody to join the community, to join the ecosystem, to help us together to do that. And I think this is what also differentiates us. And fundamentally, I also believe SAP is a good company with a good heart. And this is something overall, I think this is also important for the next generation to see that to come. So I'm more excited than ever about SAP. So really looking forward to that. That's also the reason why I'm so passionate about moving that forward.
Great, thank you, Thomas. As you mentioned and reflected on the 2021 topics, the integration strategy and everything. So I would like to touch a little bit deeper on what has been shown also at SAP TechEd. So you also mentioned in terms of user experience and the launch of the SAP Mobile Start app. What's the progress there? What can we expect in 2022?
So on the user experience side, what you will see is actually that in all of the applications, you will see these preview notes around the new user experience with the new theming, which we call Horizon, as part of our Fiori Next ambition, which means first and foremost the consistent user experience, which is great. I think that is a big topic, and you will see that basically quarter by quarter, more products with the releases will actually embrace that. By the way, an interesting notion about that is that we have a different way how to roll that out, which is also for SAP, at least it's a new way. And I hope you see the new SAP with that kind of approach, because we will start with previews. In the past, we always rolled something out, that's it, and we rolled it to our customers. Now you have the existing application, and then you have this preview button, and you can try it out, you can learn. Interestingly, also here, we want to get closer to the user. We have a different user centricity now in development, which means if you click back from the preview to the old screen, automatically you will get a feedback survey form to give your feedback on that. Why did you switch back? Because you didn't like it, because functionality was missing. That we learn from that, why you switch back, why you switch to it. And or if you don't switch back after a dedicated amount of time, basically automatically there will be a survey to check, hey, is it okay for you, or do you like it? Because we want to get closer. So it's a new way how we approach rolling out new functionality, new user experience. So that's certainly what you can expect. More user centricity, different ways how to roll it out, but a consistent way to get it across all of our applications. That's number one. Number two, on the mobile start application, we do a persona-driven approach, which means we now step by step go through the key roles in a company, like the warehouse clerk, like the accountant, like an HR professional, like any other role you can imagine, project managers, and so on and so forth. And then basically deliver the content for those kind of roles across our application portfolio. That basically when you then access the mobile start application and you are a project manager, you automatically have whatever the timesheet, the project planning, and all of that stuff as content on the device, so that we have a persona-driven way to bring the content of our applications actually to the end user. And I think this is a key aspect of that. And I think that's an important notion as well. And then for sure, it's also clear that you have specific needs and requirements, and that's absolutely also how it should be, because you differentiate in the market. And that's the reason why you saw in TechEd the first examples about how we leverage no-code, low-code, for instance, with AppGyver, connected to Concur, connected to SuccessFactors, connected to S4, to extend in a very easy way these applications. And that's what you also see then again across the entire portfolio. They have a very easy way to bring that together. So I think there's a lot on the plate. I can tell you the backlog is not short of items in our Jiras, but it will be good, and I'm really looking forward to share then also more GA announcements throughout the course of next year. So the pipeline is full, and also here again I want to re-emphasize it because it's really important for me. We are super grateful about the contribution of our customers, partners, and the community, because we listen differently. We have this customer engagement initiative, which we just again doubled down the last couple of weeks, which we take super seriously. We have this product experience embedded in the product to get closer. We have the industry councils and consortia which we participate. So many means to engage, and for sure, community itself also, where we really leverage this to get better. And again, I can just encourage you to keep exactly that up, because we're really grateful about that. So thanks for your engagement to help us to get better.
Thank you, Thomas. And I just remembered on the topic of personas that you mentioned for SAP Mobile Start. I know that the team has been blogging really a lot about the different personas, so I highly recommend to check them out. And yeah, as Thomas mentioned, engagement and your comments is really important. So for those that are watching the recording and can't access the chat, I posted the link to community.sap.com, where you can find the topic page, mobile experience, where the team has listed all the personas, all you need to know about SAP Mobile Start and the entire mobile experience with SAP. Okay, yeah, another question on this, maybe related, as you mentioned, Horizon. What is the difference if you talk about the new design theme for SAP products?
I think for sure we start with changing the ethics, which means the theming, and that's the first visual impression what you see. And I think that's an important aspect to get more a fresh look, a more modern look at what you see with enterprise software. And I think that's a very great first step. But we don't rest there. If we talk about Fiori Next and our ambition with user experience, We also for sure think about usability aspect to really think differently how really users navigate through the process. And that's the reason why we also embed in our product experience capabilities now really frameworks like the Google Heart framework to really factually analyze actually the user experience and take that as design criteria for product development, which is very important. We also next year will have for all of our colleagues actually UX goals in the plans actually with a very fact-based UX measurement, because we measure it differently, and that also will help us. So Fiori next will come along with that angle as well. Another aspect which is very dear to my heart is as well accessibility, because for sure everybody should have equal opportunity, and our software should be inclusive to everybody to get the best opportunities out. That's the reason why we double down on our accessibility across the portfolio as well, which is also part of Fiori next. And that also means for sure you have different depths of the hierarchy in the screens itself. If you think about the screen layout and from the iconography to the font to all of that stuff, to make that really in a more fresh but clean way to ensure that we support it in a totally different manner. What will also be an interesting topic to watch the first time on history at SAP, I would argue, that we have an alignment also now with the brand strategy and Fiori Next, that basically over the time you will see a consistent experience, even from sap.com, from our web presences, actually into the products itself. So this will be a continuous flow, including the support experience, and everything will come together. That for sure will take more time on our roadmap. But this is all aligned and already in the making and in the plans to do exactly that. And that will be an amazing aspect on Fiori overall as well. So I think there's a ton of goodness which is on the way, and with our new Chief Design Officer Ben Lehnert, we are really here leading the charts, also in differently thinking about design. So I have to say, 17 years with SAP, and let's be honest, SAP was not known for the best UX in the past. But I think with the ambition we now have, and you see the first results are live in S/4HANA Public Cloud, it's getting real. We really will change the needle on user experience. So I'm super excited. And with the investments we will have next year on that topic, I'm quite frankly very convinced that this will change the perception about SAP, and also signals how we now work in this company in a new, fresh manner to deliver that, as with the aspects I explained, how we approach these things. Because sometimes I believe the way how you approach these things is actually sometimes more important than way other means.
Thank you, Thomas. Into the next ones here. So yeah, concerning the distribution of SAP S/4HANA installations, and this is maybe now a little bit off topic, the attendee admits, but how do you expect the distribution in the customer base among on-premise, private cloud, and public cloud installations in the next 5 to 10 years?
Well, I'm not even sure why this is off topic, because this is super strategic and core to our strategy. So S/4HANA is for sure our flagship product, which we have as the core of the intelligent enterprise. So it's actually a very strategic and spot on. And this question is great, because I also believe it's super deep. Because to answer that question, I want to get a little bit from multiple dimensions. So first and foremost, I think we as a company are super proud about our installed base, about our customers, and the history we jointly have together with them. And so I would actually even argue we have the greatest customer base on this planet. And I know that our competitors are envying us for these customer base, for these loyal customers. So we are very grateful about that. But this customer base is actually also a market in itself, because we talk about 20 plus years experience with our ERP product, which we had in the market. But back then, for sure, this ERP product was also a platform. So a lot of customers used it to develop within the ERP system modifications, custom code extensions on the ABAP stack itself, which means it made it quite a complex environment in the on-premise days. And that's a reality. And actually, it's not negative, because back in the past, it was exactly intended like that, because the cloud was not yet on the horizon on platforms, which means everything actually as intended, all good. Now, when we look for our S/4HANA cloud strategy, it's clear that for net new names, S/4HANA Public Cloud is the way to go. It's our strategic product, S/4HANA Public Cloud. We have a ton of investment there. It's the focus topic for us also next year, you can be assured. So every net new name by nature should be an S/4HANA Public Cloud customer going forward. We invested tremendously to improve the central business configuration we delivered. We now embedded Steampunk to S/4HANA Public Cloud for easier extensibility and differentiated extensibility around S/4HANA Cloud, which we also announced at TechEd. We also established a 3-system landscape because you have now these capabilities with Steampunk that you have a 3-system landscape in the cloud and not just 2. So a ton of greatness, which you actually need for ERP because you want to differentiate on your operational processes. And we delivered all of that. We have a double down on our localization around S/4HANA Public Cloud as well. So we really believe it's a center stage product for all net new names, And then for sure, the question is, in the installed base, how can customers go to the cloud? And here we need to look more differentiated because there are some customers with highly complex landscapes with 10, 20. I have a customer with 150 productive ERP systems and for sure 20 plus years of modification. So this customer will not directly be able to go to a standardized SaaS offering. Let's be real. This will not happen from one day to the other. This is a journey. And this is exactly where we need to recognize the realities. And again, coming as a former CIO with a lot of empathy to the topic, for us it was essential to give the customer the opportunity to have this journey together with us. And that's why we started RISE with SAP and why we also offer a private edition for these customers. And that's the reason how you see in the installed base, a lot of the customers move to the private edition and together with us in this business transformation as a service offering, get more towards the standard, and then for sure eventually also go to a SaaS model with S/4HANA Public Cloud. But actually both is strategic and both is important for us. And this is what we see. We see a tremendous success with S/4HANA Public Cloud in the market. We also see a tremendous success with our private edition. So all under the RISE umbrella, which is a phenomenal success this year. And I cannot share the numbers yet because we are end of the quarter and I cannot talk about the customers' numbers, but you will be amazed to hear how many customers signed up to the cloud together with us this year when we announced it at earnings. So it's a tremendous movement in the market, which we see to help our customers. And I think it's also important that everybody recognizes that we don't leave any customer behind. We have the right deployment options and possibilities in place, which I think is also important. And for sure, we also have some customers who still consume S/4HANA on-premise for various good reasons. And again, this is also okay because I think that's differentiating SAP that we are customer focused and we recognize we have customers who also need an on-premise S/4HANA in their data center for whatever good reason, and we help them. So I think we can differentiate actually with our capabilities, which we have, and with our approach. And with regards to the distribution, overall distribution will be, I would argue, every net new name will be S/4HANA Public Cloud. Most of the two-tier approaches, like if you have a company which is, for instance, in S/4HANA in our private edition, and they acquire a company, the acquired company to include it into the operations will be most probably public cloud as a two-tier subsidiary scenario. We also will have many customers who actually actively do a business process redesign and business process transformation, who also move to S/4HANA Public Cloud. Like if you think about PricewaterhouseCoopers, PwC, going globally live with S/4HANA Public Cloud around the globe. So many of these examples for sure also will exist if the customer is willing to go into a standardization and transfer of deep process transformation activity together with them. And then you will have some installed base customers which will go to S/4HANA, the cloud private edition. And that will be the majority. We also will have some on-premise customers, absolutely, which is also good. Again, we have a large installed base, we have the variety, but we have the offering. For me, the most important piece is, independent of what the customer does, is about keeping the core as clean as possible, because we deliver so many innovations every single day with thousands of developers. And for me, as the head of product engineering, the greatest joy is for sure to see these innovations in life. And this is for me, which gives me the greatest pleasure. But for sure, I also know that in order to consume it, you need to be able to upgrade the system. And that exactly is the life cycle about the code, which is super critical. And that's the reason the cleaner we can keep the code, the easier are the upgrades. And for sure, in the SaaS model, you anyway receive the quarterly updates. But also for the other options, we need together with our partners help to get the core as clean as possible, that you can really actively do the upgrades and consume the innovations we do, because there's so much goodness which is coming. And it's always a pity when I talk to a customer and he says, oh, I'm still on ECC, and he wants to have all this greatness with sustainability. And I say, well, if you would be on S4, you would automatically receive it, because it's part of the next of the various feature packs and releases. And then this is the lost opportunity which you have if you not be able to consume this greatness of innovations. If you are a couple of years back in our development cycle, that's the reason I always can encourage everybody, leverage our business technology platform for the extensions, keep the core clean. And then really we have some customers amazing also on premise, which go into an evergreen mode, doing every year yearly upgrade cycles. And they really shorten upgrade projects significantly because they only have 2 modifications left. They know exactly what they need to do. So it's really a smooth way. And then consuming this innovation, and the CFO of this company actually called me and said, well, he never would have expected it, but after 3 years of evergreen project, he now finally get it, why this is so important. And he's so excited about the innovations they now can actually just use, because we deliver it. And so he was super excited. And this is customer feedback, which is amazing to hear. But I know it's hard work. And that's the reason why we all in the community need to work on having a clean architecture in our activities.
Thank you, Thomas. And now that we definitely heard that sustainability is the leading dimension going forward, we have a further question on this topic from an attendee, which is about primary focus of SAP and the sustainability solutions is definitely on enabling the sustainable performance of businesses. Are there any initiatives that can be translated for individuals that help individuals to act further sustainable? And the person also addressed this question, added some more thoughts, like, for example, okay, could this maybe be through the effective use of internet behavior, talent management data, employee experience data? So anything that, that individuals could reduce carbon footprint, come down, and how to just search and be motivated by us.
That's a good question, because I also believe every individual has every day a choice and can contribute to help to reduce the carbon footprint, absolutely, without a doubt. And I think we should encourage everybody that also every little personal decision has an impact. We should not ignore that fact and actually encourage everybody. So first of all, absolutely, this is critical. From our side, we do multiple aspects. So on the one hand side, we embrace, for instance, a carbon calculator in Concur. So whenever you book a trip, you basically can calculate then also the carbon, and you will have a possibility to offset the carbon, if you like, with also certificates. So certainly something where we, in all of the various applications, we include that as mentioned. I think that is very important. And then when you personally, individual book a travel, it's your choice how you travel there, and you get the information. If you fly, if you use the train, if you go by car, what's the offsetting capabilities that will be provided with our Concur. So just as one of the examples, and we have that again across, but also across all dimensions of sustainability, like diversity and inclusion. We embrace notions for business beyond bias in our AI capabilities, that basically we recognize if a job description is not written in an appropriate way. And sometimes it's actually, you write something and you even don't recognize it for yourself, but actually you exclude people with some statements. And that's something what AI for sure can help to go, again, beyond biases and to help diversity in the job description already, which is key. And then for sure also, if you analyze CVs, to have that natural fact-based. And so there are many means in many aspects on that one. And then also something which is important also for the community, it's about how we develop actually. And that's the reason why we also launched together with the HPI an open HPI course for clean IT. It's about how do we optimize actually, for instance, algorithms and SQL statements, that they reduce actually the energy consumption and the power consumption which we need for various aspects, because our software for sure is actually also requiring a lot of energy. Actually, if you think about the broader scale, in the meantime, the telecom and IT industry has 3% of all the global CO2 footprint in the meantime. By the way, this is comparable to the airline business. So you see that the footprint of IT technology and data centers around the globe is significant, which means also here, how we optimize our coding has an impact on sustainability as well. And that's, again, there's an open HPI course. I can just recommend that you also watch it to have a clean IT in the development itself. So I think everybody of us has a huge opportunity to contribute. And I think if we all contribute, we will see a real improvement. And this is something which I would love to see.
Thank you so much, Thomas. That was a great answer. Yeah, let's wrap it up. I would say let's have some closing statements maybe again. And yeah, thank you for all the attendees that joined and asked the questions. It was really, really cool.
No, thank you so much from my side as well for taking the time. It was really a pleasure. Great questions, and I hope you also took some value in about how I tick around out of the call. So thanks so much. And now I wish you a happy holiday seasons, all the best for the new year, and the most important piece is stay safe and healthy. Thank you very much.